Attempts to grasp God are futile. God can only be known through direct experience, as the Kebalian wisely puts it. The all is infinite mind. The universe is mental. This means that the universe is simply a mental creation of the infinite mind, existing only in the mind of the all. Nothing exists beyond the all's omniscient mind. The book's lessons stress the impossibility of fully grasping God. This means its possible science won't be able to solve the mystery of God. God, in contrast to the image of a humanoid entity seated on a throne, is all-encompassing. The essence of it is already within you. But your ego's domineering presence often overpowers this connection, blocking your sight of God. When you give God human characteristics like judgment and cruelty, you turn God into an alien entity, further separating yourself from the divine. Observing various cultural mythologies and religious deities, you'll notice an egoic resemblance in each representation of God. This viewpoint originates in the ego's fruitless attempt to define God. According to Joseph Murphy's profound analysis, God is not a person or being. God is not a thing. God is not a force. God is not a concept. God is an experience. One of the greatest spiritual secrets lies here. An enlightened mind realizes that it is only from the outside that something can be examined and understood. One can only truly learn about something by becoming that thing. Therefore, it is only through direct personal experience that you can come to know God. Otherwise, the search for God will always be filtered through the ego's attempts to understand it from the outside. As a result, you'll become more accustomed to seeing it in action, eventually nodding in recognition as you realize it's always been there, hidden behind the surface of your senses. Remember the words of another wise man. The laws of nature are but the thoughts of God, and man, the latest arrival in nature's workshop, is slowly learning to read and understand those thoughts. This is in line with the words of Albert Einstein, who said, "The laws of nature are but the thoughts of God." From this vantage point, everything is energy, and God is found in that which sustains life. But our natural inclination is to analyze and make sense of these occurrences by applying reason to their characteristics. The fundamental truth that we share in essence with the subjects we seek to comprehend is often lost in this endeavor, and with it the vital essence that connects us. Observation and imagination are two sides of the same coin. Through careful observation, you will find what it is you're looking for. This is the guiding principle behind scientific exploration. It is the way that leads to discoveries. But the discoveries usually lead to new innovations. Our lives become channels through which God's influence can spread. The world we experience, on both an individual and a societal level, is shaped by the assumptions and priorities we hold. Therefore, the act of observation leads to the creation of something novel. We are at the vanguard of creation, making essential contributions to the birth of new dimensions both individually and collectively. Our thoughts and feelings use our collective intelligence to bring into being new realities constantly. The key is to realize that seeking God requires an inward journey rather than a series of external steps. God's creations include what you find when you look inward. When your thoughts are peaceful and undistracted, God's presence is more readily apparent. When you're fully present in the moment, God is here. God is pleased when you are pleased, and God is joyful when you are joyful. It's important, though, to distinguish between the fleeting pleasures that the ego provides and the permanent joy that comes from knowing God. God can only be experienced once the false sense of separation is abandoned. God is present at all times, but your ego's belief in separation can alter or even completely reshape your experience of God. However, this should not be interpreted as evidence that the ego has no redeeming qualities. On the contrary, the ego is the engine that propels our innovative efforts and allows us to reach our full potential. Without pride, one cannot access the vast potential of the creative realm. The drive to create may be less intense in a world where harmony and self-awareness rule. Nonetheless, our individuality, while contributing to the exhilarating journey of life, also introduces challenges and complexities. The goal is not to suppress the ego, but to cultivate it with humility, accepting its function without succumbing to it. Learn to separate yourself from your ego and see it for what it is, a part of you. When you realize that your ego is separate from you, you can begin to appreciate it for what it is. The path to encountering God in your existence and coming to a profound understanding begins when you learn to distinguish between the ego and your true self. It should be made clear that no suggestion of instantaneous transcendence is being made here, no suggestion of leaving the body behind to merge with God. Such a radical shift isn't the essence of the matter. The point isn't for you to become miserable with your life and hide away in a cave. Instead, you should concentrate on developing a relationship with God and conforming your behavior to God's will. For what reason? It's something you find deep within your true self, apart from your ego. A fascinating observation has surfaced despite extensive investigation of various texts on the topic of God. This search has only added more confusion rather than less. But one thought keeps coming back. Every conception of God we've seen so far has a decidedly egotistic tone. These descriptions often sound distinctly human, as if the ego itself was attempting to comprehend a concept inherently beyond its grasp. This insight dawns as the ego attempts to make sense of God's ineffable essence within the comfortable framework of its own limitations. It is impossible to learn about God through observation alone, so the quest for such insight may seem impossible, if not completely fascinating. Neville Goddard offers some insights into the spiritual quest as follows. Seek God through your own internal experiences rather than based on what you gather from the world around you, inner experience. Coming to terms with oneself. To truly comprehend something, you must merge with its very nature. Feel the feelings that come from imagining yourself in situations where you sense God's presence. To make God's presence real in your life, you must first plant the idea in your subconscious mind, a process known as subconscious alignment. The adventure of discovering God is one of the greatest joys of life. The decision to explore the ego is motivated by desire, and the belief in God's presence is already established. But that doesn't mean the steps involved in making it can't be fascinating in and of themselves. As such, the point of this message isn't to tell people not to seek anything. Rather, it's to tell them not to look outside themselves for fulfillment. The inherent fullness and wholeness are present and accounted for. The purpose of this kind of seeking is to have fun, be motivated by genuine curiosity, and fully immerse oneself in the presence of God. One can enjoy the fields of science, religion, and knowledge by periodically quieting the mind and settling into the here and now. Learn to master the finer points of living so that you can create a life of wonder and enjoy the world's wonders to the fullest. But remember who you are and never let go of God's presence as you go about your daily life. This way of thinking enhances the fullness and happiness of the journey of life, where God's presence is ever present. God is definitely here. In quiet moments like these, realize this profound truth. I am.